Well, the chairman mentioned the legislation that we have, and the technical assistance is dramatically increased with that legislation. Now, since we're kind of confined on time, the first panel lasted a little longer than I thought it would. I want to confine my questions to Mr. Whatley, and then on each question, if you have any, I'd like to know from you, Mr. Baker, whether what is happening in Oklahoma is also consistent with wishes and problems in other states. First of all, Mr. Whatley, do you think a greater emphasis by the EPA on the training and technical assistance as opposed to enforcement is something that would be helping you to do a better job to clean up the drinking water?
Thank you, Senator. I believe that most of our systems in the state don't really understand what they need to do and what the rules are. It's why we have some of the problems that we have. We have about 7,000 certified operators in the state of Oklahoma. We have a turnover of around 1,500 every year. So we have a lot of people who have no experience, very little or no training. So we think we can address and help systems meet a lot of these requirements through an educational and on-site technical assistance that we work with the state in providing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because, you know, many of our we are a state of small communities, and we don't have, many of those communities don't have the resources to have the studies and all the things that, and so we rely on the assistance, technical assistance. Do you agree with that, Mr. Baker?
Yes, I do. The complexity of our drinking water regulations continues to grow, as does the technology required to meet those requirements. We have a challenge of helping people to just to be aware of what the requirements are, and then to understand what those requirements are and how best to achieve them.
Yes, well, and I appreciate that. Mr. Whatley, could you name some specific EPA regulations or water quality standards that you feel are overly restrictive for our small systems? A microphone, please.
I just learned yesterday that EPA has sent out notice to systems under the long-term 2 enhanced surface water treatment rule. It's going out to those small, all surface water systems that serve less than 10,000 people. It's going to require monitoring that it's going to cost systems about $24,000 a year. And as you pointed out, we're a state of very small systems. 85% of the entities in Oklahoma serve less than 3,300 people. So we'll be imposing.
That's less than 3,300, and yet the benchmark was 10,000.
Yes.
So it's almost.
So, yeah, 90% of our folks serve less than 10,000.
Yeah.
So nearly all of our systems in Oklahoma, as you pointed out, are small or very small systems. So it's going to be extremely difficult for these systems to meet this standard or the monitoring requirement for cryptosporidium. Of course, systems already are having to comply with turbidity standards, which was reduced, I think, by 50% a couple of years ago from 1 NTU down to 0.5. So we're very concerned about the effect of that rule. The Stage 2 disinfection byproducts rule is a great concern to us. There's 1,000 systems in Oklahoma, or more than 1,000 systems, that will be impacted by that rule. These are systems that these are purchased water systems that buy water from a surface water system or another groundwater system that have no treatment experience. They're going to be required to do monitoring and potentially have to install expensive treatment processes to meet the requirements of that rule.
Those are good examples. You know, for the record, and by that I mean after this is over, we keep the record open. I would like to have you list other examples that specifically are problems for you.
Okay. Because
I know the time doesn't allow us to get into too many, but you've given a couple of good examples. Do you want to add to that, Mr. Baker?
Well, I think the particular rules that were mentioned are, in fact, challenging and are particularly challenging for this large number of small systems that have to achieve compliance with those. But I would also note that I think that they are particularly important rules in addressing acute contaminants that can impact people's health in the short term as well as in the long term. So while I think there are challenges, I think we have to utilize all the tools in the toolbox to try and assist small systems to bring them into compliance with those regulations.
Okay, that's good. And then for the record, I'd like to have each one of you, send us something what you think the EPA could do to be of help to us. And particularly, I emphasize the small communities. And Mr. Whatley, my time has expired, and I have to go because I'm making a talk off campus here. And but if you're around today, I looked at my schedule. Anytime between 3 and 5 o'clock or after 6 o'clock, if you could drop by the office, I'd like to visit with you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.